Dakota Johnson's beauty, natural evolution or subtle intervention over time? In Hollywood, beauty is never just beauty. It is a subject of fascination, projection, debate, and often quiet judgment. Faces are tracked across decades, frozen in screenshots, compared frame by frame, and measured against an impossible standard of permanence. Few actresses embody this scrutiny more clearly than Dakota Johnson, whose appearance has been discussed almost as intensely as her performances. The question that repeatedly resurfaces is deceptively simple. Is Dakota Johnson's beauty entirely natural, or has it been subtly shaped by intervention over the years? The truth, as with most things in Hollywood, is neither sensational nor absolute. It exists somewhere between biology, time, styling, and perception. Dakota Johnson entered the public eye at a young age, but unlike many child actors, her image did not crystallize early. Her face evolved in public view, slowly and unevenly, shaped by age, experience, and the pressures of visibility. Early photographs show a young woman with soft features, wide-set eyes, and a slightly awkward grace that had not yet settled into confidence. At that stage, there was nothing polished about her look. She appeared natural, almost unguarded, as if still deciding how she wanted to be seen. As she transitioned into adulthood, subtle changes became noticeable, not dramatic shifts, but refinements. Her jawline appeared more defined. Her cheekbones seemed more pronounced. Her bangs, which would later become iconic, framed her face in a way that emphasized symmetry and mystery. For some observers, these changes sparked speculation. For others, they simply reflected what happens when a person grows into their features. In the entertainment industry, however, natural explanations are rarely enough. Hollywood has trained audiences to assume intervention, especially when beauty appears consistent or improves with age. The idea that someone could simply mature gracefully feels almost radical in a culture obsessed with enhancement. Dakota herself has rarely engaged directly with these conversations. When she does speak about beauty, her tone is notably detached. She has expressed discomfort with the idea that women's faces are treated as public property, open for debate and diagnosis. Her silence on specific procedures has often been interpreted as evasion, but it may just as easily be read as refusal. A decision not to legitimize a question she never agreed to answer. What complicates the discussion is the nature of modern aesthetics. Today, the line between natural and intervened is increasingly blurred. Professional makeup, lighting, skincare, hairstyling, and even facial expressions can dramatically alter how a face appears. High-definition cameras capture details the human eye once missed, while digital editing subtly reshapes images before they ever reach the public. Dakota Johnson's red carpet appearances offer a clear example of this phenomenon. On one night, she appears almost bare-faced, her freckles visible, her expression soft. On another, she looks sculpted and sharp, her features emphasized by contouring, lighting, and camera angles. The same face, two vastly different impressions. This variability often fuels speculation. Viewers compare images without accounting for context. A change in eyebrow shape becomes a surgical theory. A smoother complexion becomes evidence. The reality is that beauty presentation in Hollywood is a collaborative construction, not a static truth. Age, too, plays a role that is frequently underestimated. Dakota Johnson entered her most famous roles in her mid-20s, a period when facial structure naturally changes. Baby fat recedes. Bone structure becomes more visible. The face loses roundness and gains definition. These shifts can appear dramatic when compared to teenage photographs, but they are not artificial. They are time at work. Yet the pressure to maintain youth in Hollywood is real and relentless. It would be naive to pretend that actresses are immune to it. The industry rewards consistency, smoothness, and familiarity. Aging, when visible, is often treated as a failure rather than a process. Within this context, even minimal cosmetic maintenance becomes controversial. The important distinction lies in certainty versus assumption. There is no verified public evidence that Dakota Johnson has undergone major cosmetic surgery. No confirmed statements, no documented procedures. What exists instead is a collective narrative built on comparison and expectation. The absence of visible aging is treated as suspicious. The presence of subtle change is treated as proof. This says more about the culture observing her than about Dakota herself. Interestingly, Dakota's appeal has never relied on perfection. Her beauty is often described as unconventional, slightly off-center, marked by quirks rather than symmetry alone. Her smile is understated. Her gaze is often introspective rather than performative. These qualities resist the hyper-polished aesthetic associated with heavy cosmetic alteration. In interviews, Dakota has spoken about insecurity, anxiety, and self-perception. She has acknowledged that growing up surrounded by beauty and fame distorted her understanding of self-worth. These admissions add depth to the discussion. They remind us that behind every scrutinized face is a person negotiating identity in a world that profits from critique. There is also a generational shift at play. Unlike previous eras, where actresses were encouraged to deny all intervention, today's conversation is more nuanced. Many public figures now speak openly about minor procedures, skincare routines, or aesthetic treatments without framing them as shameful. Dakota's choice not to participate in this transparency does not imply deception. It may simply reflect a desire for boundaries. Another overlooked factor is health. Dakota has spoken about chronic health issues, including anxiety and physical discomfort. These experiences can affect weight, facial fullness, posture, and expression. The face reflects what the body endures. Changes that are attributed to cosmetic choices may instead be responses to internal challenges invisible to the audience. Fashion also plays a significant role. Dakota's style evolution has been dramatic. Early in her career, she dressed cautiously, blending into expectations. As she gained confidence, her fashion choices became bolder, more structured, more intentional. Clothing and hair can radically reshape how a face is perceived. A sharp neckline, a severe hairstyle, or minimalist makeup can emphasize angles that once went unnoticed. Then there is the camera itself. Lenses distort, lighting sculpts, angles exaggerate. A single still image can misrepresent an entire face. Comparing candid paparazzi photos with professionally staged portraits is an exercise in illusion, yet it remains a common practice in online discourse. The obsession with whether Dakota Johnson's beauty is real reveals a deeper discomfort with female autonomy. The question is rarely asked with genuine curiosity. It is often a test. Did she earn her beauty honestly, or did she cheat? The premise itself is flawed. Beauty is not a moral achievement. It is not something that requires justification. Dakota's career choices suggest a woman more invested in expression than appearance. She has taken on roles that prioritize emotional complexity over visual appeal. She has allowed herself to appear vulnerable, strange, and imperfect on screen. This willingness undermines the idea that she is obsessed with maintaining an idealized image. If intervention exists, it is likely minimal and pragmatic, not transformative. If it does not, then her face stands as a quiet rebuke to the assumption that aging must be fought aggressively to be acceptable. Either way, the fixation on the question risks missing the point. The most striking thing about Dakota Johnson's appearance is not how it has changed, but how it has remained recognizably hers. There is continuity in her expressions, her presence, her way of occupying space. Her face tells a story not of erasure, but of accumulation. Years of experience layered gently onto familiar features. Ultimately, the debate over whether her beauty is natural or assisted reflects a broader cultural anxiety. We want certainty in a world that offers none. We want to categorize, label, and explain what makes us uncomfortable. A woman who ages gracefully challenges our expectations. A woman who refuses to explain herself challenges our entitlement. Dakota Johnson does not offer a definitive answer, and perhaps that is intentional. By not confirming or denying, she disrupts the narrative that women owe transparency about their bodies. She redirects attention, however subtly, back to her work, her voice, and her presence. In the end, the question may be less about what Dakota Johnson has done to her face and more about why we feel compelled to ask. Beauty, after all, is not a static truth. It is a relationship between the viewer and the scene, shaped by time, context, and belief. Dakota Johnson's beauty, whether entirely natural or gently maintained, remains uniquely her own. And perhaps that is the only truth that truly matters.